Okay. Good evening, everyone. I will call to order the Plainfield Charter Township Board meeting for August 14th, 2023. We will begin our meeting with the invocation and pledge of allegiance led by Kathleen.
Bow our heads, please. Our Heavenly Father, thank you, Lord, for this day. We thank you for the rain, for the crops, Lord, and our lawns, things that need to be watered to nourish our earth, Lord. We thank you for the opportunity to serve Plainfield Township. We pray that you will give us clarity of thought in making decisions tonight, and that we would do the best thing for the residences and the businesses in Plainfield Township. In Jesus' name, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Kathleen. Thank you, everyone. Next item is for public comments. I see, so we have some folk here tonight, so just to explain, this would be a time when if you have anything you'd like to comment about in regards to township affairs or comments, concerns, whatever you may have, you may do that at this time. There will also be a time when we go item by item on our new business or what have you, that you'll be allowed to make comments at that time. It's if you're here for a specific reason, okay, or one of those items. So right now, I'll open the floor for any general kind of comments that anybody may have. Looks like everybody has a reason for being here. So, all right, I'll close that part of the agenda, and we will move on to the review of our consent agenda. Without any questions, comments, or concerns from the board, I would seek a motion for the approval of the agenda, including the consent agenda and accounts payable.
I move to approve the agenda, including consent agenda and accounts payable.
Second.
Thank you, Jack. Support?
Support.
Thank you, Kathy. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Coleman,
Yes.
Mr. Pfaff,
Yes.
Ms. Beatty,
Yes.
Mr. Hagedorn,
Yes.
Mrs. Merrill,
Yes.
Ms. Lowenthal. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Next up is a presentation from the West Michigan Sports Commission. Cameron?
Okay, thanks. While they're coming to the mic here, it's been, a little over about 10 years since the Sports Commission has had a partnership with Plainfield Township. It was right about the time I was joining the township here. And so we've got this wonderful mutual park destination up on 10 Mile that you guys all know very well. And they got big plans for the future as well. So we got Mike Gusweiler here and Jim from the Sports Commission to talk about what they're planning to do and bring you guys up to speed. So with that, take it away, Mike.
All right. Well, thank you. Appreciate the time and the ability to address the board tonight. We've got some exciting things going on up at the Meyer Sports Complex. And as Cameron laid it out, it's truly been a great partnership between Plainfield Township, ourselves, even Algoma Township, as we talk about some of the different components that have populated both Premier Park and the Meyer Sports Complex. Again, it's been just a little over 10 years when I addressed your counterparts, or some of you may have been here in your seats as well, about creating sports tourism and a destination. And that created, at the time, the Art Van Sports Complex, a campaign to build what we're enjoying today. And that was a $7.5 million investment that brought predominantly diamond sports to the table, but it also paved the way, literally, for Premier Park and bringing some of our local sports club partners to the table to create the Easton Archery Complex that's up there, both indoor and outdoor ranges, the Rock City BMX, the Merrill Trails with the West Michigan Mountain Bike Alliance. So, it truly is a destination for multiple sports for both our residents and then the work that we do on the weekends of bringing travel ball into town that has been extremely successful. On average, about $5 million annually of spending from these teams that are coming from as far as Florida, Texas, and to our north, our Canadian friends. So with that work and that being our primary mission and the success that we've had, We're in another campaign in a public-private partnership to raise $11 million. Unfortunately, price tag goes up a little bit 10 years later, but we're doing really good work with that. You see on your screen some of the components of what we're looking to do. We've got a great partnership of having college ball up at the complex with Aquinas College and their men's baseball team. And so on field number 1, which is our signature field that you can see from 10 Mile, we want to extend the playability on there and put synthetic turf on there. We also have a wonderful field that provides inclusiveness for both children and adults with disabilities to enjoy the sport of baseball, and that's our Miracle Field. And being 10 years old, we're looking to resurface that and get another 10 years of lifespan so we can sustain that play for those individuals. Field number 2 just adds some natural turf to the infield so that we've got 3 fields that can bring collegiate play up there, and 3 different fields, including our signature field, as well as some youth baseball tournaments, extending that. And then jumping to the south, it's about adding another quad. And specific to that quad, it's adding that parity and equity to the complex. In doing that through a championship softball field. That will bring more softball teams to the table. We're seeing a surge of softball play that extends beyond typical baseball, which ends at the end of July. Softball will play into August and September and offer the girls a place that's equal to what we're providing the men and the boys in the championship baseball field. And the other thing I want to share is, the great partnership that we've had in working with Bill Fisher and the Parks Department. We're in your master plan to be continued partners. And also in your master plan is the hotbed of pickleball that we're seeing pop up everywhere. And we want to contribute to that. We're working with another 501c3, Rockford Pickleball, to potentially bring 20 courts, which would be another destination both for locals to come and play, but also bring some tournaments and the dollars that come with those tournaments into our community. We've got 2 partners that are business owners in your community, the Score Restaurant, Flo's Sports Bar, that just reap great benefit from this complex and have great testimonials about the importance of having this here. So we're excited about where we're at. We're at 53% of our goal. It is a public-private partnership. And through that, Kent County and their ARPA grant process granted $1 million to the project. We have our congresswoman from the 3rd District working in our nation's capital to get some federal dollars to this in the tune of $750,000. And we're hoping that Plainfield Township can also work with us to grow this impact. Specifically to the shared drive that we have for both parks, serving Premier Park and Meyer Sports Complex. So we're working with Bill Fisher and the Parks Department and also with Cameron in these conversations, but wanted to make you aware of that. And now I want to hand it off to Jim Horman, my board chair, and also principal with Progressive AE on the project, to talk about that entryway.
Thank you, Mike. We might have a plan, thank you. So the 2 hats that I wear, one is to have a firm like Progressive AE that I'm a principal in to bring our business and keep it in Plainfield Township is just a wonderful partnership, along with the professional relationship we have with you all. On the Sports Commission side, I'm very proud to be the board chair and have Mike, who's done all the heavy lifting for bringing this complex to this location. Now, expanding it, making it a really inclusive and diversified complex that brings other sports here. I will say that we talk a lot about this is for the community. It is about health and wellness. League play, tournament play, it all happens here. So this piece of the project is a small fraction of the project. It's incredibly valuable for safety on the complex. It's a turn lane. It runs out to 10 Mile, and it provides better turning and stacking and in general safety for the vehicles that are leaving the complex. as well as anybody who's traveling down 10 Mile. So it's a more secured investment. So the idea is to widen this for another turn lane, to change the signaling at the light to make that more efficient. So it's a better flow in and out. There's not as much stacking, and it really will work better from a traffic engineering standpoint. So if there's any questions on this, if they're really detailed, I can get you detailed answers. If there's overall general questions, because this lane serves the entire complex. It's not just Meyer Sports Complex, but all the other businesses and parks that are there as well. So,
Tim, I wanted to add that too. What we experienced today, and I'm going to jump back to the prior, so you can see in this one, you see the Meyer Sports Complex, and just in the shaded area on the top here, you see the Premier Park. And when we have events going on simultaneously, we already experience a lot of traffic trying to come and go at the same time, especially leave as they're trying to, especially turn left onto 10 Mile. What wasn't really pointed out, but I want to make sure it's clear to the board, you see an empty parking lot here, that exists. This is all new parking. We're talking about a lot more traffic than we have today, and so that's why we have a big need to make sure that we have enough traffic flow to get in and out. So that's what we've been talking about and trying to figure out how best to manage that, and adding a turn lane really seems to be the best solution here, the most cost-effective solution as well. So we appreciate our partnership with the Sports Commission and their foresight in looking at this as they do their expansion.
any other questions or anything that we can answer?
Does anybody have anything? Jack, go ahead.
I appreciate the partnership. I appreciate the partnership we've had with you. I think Premier Park is a truly unique venue. I don't know of any other park that's like that. It has so much sports activity. I do have a question. How much extra acreage will you be taking or using for your expansion?
So right now, the acreage is all currently owned and master planned, so there's no expansion beyond the master plan, with the exception of the turn lane. That we need another 12 feet, so if we could do that.
Frank, Susan, all set? Okay, ladies?
Well, that sounds very exciting. Looking forward to it. Thank you.
Yeah, yes, thank you very much, appreciate it. Okay, next item is we have a couple public hearings we have to hold. The first is to consider an ordinance to amend to rezone 1303 Post Drive from commercial C1 to PUD, planned unit development. Pete, is this you or
It's me.
Mike on?
It's
There you go.
delayed a little bit. There it goes. Yes, this is me.
Okay,
Well, I do know that the applicant, Mr. Brandon Visser, does have a presentation for you today, so he will probably, rather than be super redundant on everything, he will hit the top points for you guys tonight. But just want to give you a heads up. The Planning Commission did grant site plan approval, subject to the board granting rezoning approval tonight for this project. A little bit unusual. We've done it in the past, but it's manageable type of thing. And so they knew the risk going forward, but they wanted to be able to hit the ground running. They have some plans to develop this property rather quickly, so we felt comfortable enough, based on the feedback at the Planning Commission, to move forward with that process at the time. Other than that, we have no additional conditions that apply to this. And we'll note that, and Jack may want to comment also, the PC recommended approval. Staff is supportive, and we have prepared motions for you for both for and against, and I'll leave it with that. And if you have any questions, please let me know.
thanks, Pete. Brandon, the floor is yours.
Sure. Good evening. All right, let's see here. So my name is Brandon Visser, and I'm presenting the Post Drive PUD as a rezone to you tonight. This is a little over 3 acre parcel on Post Drive, northwest of the 131 exit. There's currently a residential, single-family home on the site that would be demolished as a part of this project. It's partially wooded, so we'd have to do some clearing. But as you can see, kind of how it sits in there, it's kind of an odd-shaped parcel. This is the current Plainfield Township zoning map. So you can see the diversity in this little corridor of the red being C1, the purple being the mobile home park and a PUD. And then we even have a little bit of R1 up on the north side. So it just seems that this is a natural transitional piece that could be used for something. And that is exactly kind of how we found the basis of the use that we're proposing, being mixed use with commercial and residential. So I have the updated site plan. It's got more detail than what you need to see on it probably for some of your discussion tonight, but in general, this is a mixed-use building up in the front towards Post Drive that's got retail C1 type uses on the main floor and 6 apartment units above. That would be pretty nice apartments since there's only 6 of them. They'd have their own entrance in the back, so they'd have a shared parking in the rear. There'd be commercial parking for customers in the front. And then there's a 12-unit mixed multifamily building in the back with detached garages. So those are the 2 orange structures on the site plan back there. The mixed-use building has around 7,200 square feet on the main floor as well as the upper. There's 4 2-bedroom units and 2 one-bedroom units. So it's geared towards the working class on this one. Professionals, young professionals, or if there are families, there'll be all 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom units in the 12-unit building in the back. So we have a little bit of diversity as far as our use goes. But I'm gonna bounce back to that site plan real quick. As you can see, we're showing a drive-through around kind of in the middle of the parking area in the rear. It's designed to be a lighter use drive-through, not a full-scale heavy impact drive-through. We also widened that out so that we have excessive width for emergency vehicles to use that even while the drive-through's active. So fire department has given comments on that and kind of talked to us about our uses and how that's all gonna fit and function. We're showing a dog park in the back, but overall, trying to landscape and preserve as much usable space as we can, but also having a good pedestrian and vehicular traffic flow around this site. We're also showing an entrance on Post Drive. That's our primary entrance, but we're also connecting to the existing Dollar General to the left and to the mobile home park to the right. So we'll have a little bit of new cross access activity. Hopefully that the goal in that is to mitigate some of the ins and outs onto Post Drive for people wanting to use that retail strip to the northwest. As you can kind of see, it's a nice newer age styling to the building. So we're kind of trying to set a precedence of a little bit of a nicer fit and finish for this area. That's pretty good.
It wasn't anything you said,
No,
Brandon.
I'm like, I thought the whole roof was shaking.
You heard it too.
This shows you a little bit from the left side, just to see that, that service window. We're thinking something kind of locally, as far as maybe in the food industry, local, small business kind of thing that we could try to fit in there and run something that would work good for the area. The 12-unit in the back, so 3 stories, 2 primary entrances, and again, each unit would have its own garage stall dedicated. So it's just a nice spread out parking situation where there's still some green space, still some preserved space. We keep all of our own detention on site, so it seems like it fits really well in the area. Other than that, as far as rezone, I'm sure Pete has a couple comments, and I'm open to any questions you guys have.
Pete, anything further?
I just want to mention a couple of things that have come up during the review with Planning Commission in the past. One is the applicant is providing and has worked with the Mobile Home Park, Northern Estates, Spire Communities to put a cross-access through there. So we will have some sort of cross-access between them. It took a little bit of time, but it worked out. There is a small property transfer you'll see on the site plan on the northern end. Aspire Communities has been functionally using that property for the last 40, 50 years, and so the transfer is doable under the ordinance, and we know it's there, so I just wanted to bring that to your attention. And then the last thing, and I think many of you are aware of this, but I believe in 2025, a stoplight will be going in at Post and 131. You may recall from PC minutes and other discussion that was one of the concerns was traffic flow on Post Drive and adding additional development there. And we were comfortable before that streetlight when it was proposed, and this is all the better. So that's all I have at the moment, but if you have any questions, please let me know.
Okay, thank you. Brandon, if you want to just grab a seat a second, I'm going to open the floor for anybody who may have public comment to make about this specific issue at this time. I don't see anybody, so I'll close the floor for public comment, and then we'll just move on to the board discussion. Susan, do you have anything for Brandon or Pete?
Well, I was aware of the purchase of this property many years ago, and I've been thrilled to finally see something happen. I think that we've been discussing the need for different housing units in Plainfield Township, and this addresses that. I think the new look will be a huge improvement over what's on that corner now. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Susan. Jack?
I was on the board when Dan and Davide came in front of us for flows. That was maybe 10 years ago. And they've been very successful, and they continue to add to the quality of the township with their business. And I suspect with the big need for housing that we'll expect you to help fill that need. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Jack. Frank?
I'm all set, thanks.
You bet. Kathleen?
I think it's a great plan, looks good. The building looks a lot like what we were thinking for Reimagine Plainfield also. So it's a good start, and it's been a long time coming.
Thank you. Kathy?
Awesome, you had me at dog park, so we're good.
All right, thank you. Bill?
Looks good to me.
All right. Yeah, congratulations, Stan. This is a long time coming, huh? Couple different plants. Brandon, very nice job. So, yeah, we did what we needed to do here, right? Cool. By the way, everybody, just so you know, it's Dan's birthday today, too. I'm not going to let him skate out of here without everybody knowing that. Yep, there you go. All right, so no more further questions. I'll move it this time for a motion.
I move that the Township Board approve the ordinance to amend to rezone 1303 Post Drive Northeast from C1 Commercial to PUD Planned Unit Development, subject to the following findings of fact. Number one, the proposed PUD complies with the intent and purpose and all qualifying conditions of sections 28.01 and 28.02 of this chapter respectively. Number two, the use is conducted within the proposed PUD. The PUD's impact on the community and other aspects of the PUD are consistent with and further implement the policies of the adopted Plainfield Charter Township Master Plan. Number three, the proposed PUD shall be designed, constructed, operated, and maintained in a manner harmonious with the character of adjacent property, the surrounding uses of the land, the natural environment, and the capacity of public services and facilities affected by the development. Number four, the proposed PUD does not appear to be hazardous to adjacent property or involve uses, activities, materials, or equipment that can be detrimental to the health, safety, and welfare of persons or property through the extensive production of traffic, noise, smoke, fumes, or glare. Number five, the proposed PUD does not place demands on public services and facilities more than current or anticipated future capacity. Number six, the proposed PUD appears to satisfy all applicable local, state, and federal statutes and regulations. And number seven, the proposed rezoning is further supported for those reasons set forth by members of the Planning Commission staff, and applicant as reflected in the entire meeting record in this matter.
Support.
Thank you,
I'll
Jack.
support.
Give Jack a minute to rest
I'm
here.
getting hoarse.
All right. So, motion from Jack, support from Susan. Roll call vote, please.
Hey, Miss Beatty,
Yes.
Mr. Pfaff,
Yes.
Mrs. Merrill,
Yes.
Mr. Brinkman,
Yes.
Mr. Hagedorn.
Yes.
Ms. Lowenthal, yes, and Mr. Coleman.
Yes. Okay, congratulations, guys. All right, our next item is to consider a special assessment district for North Valley Condominium Association for the purpose of a private road repair. Before we go here, let me explain. We had a little problem with notification, so I'm going to have Cameron talk a little bit here, and then I'll open the floor for public comment. If you're here for that tonight, we'd like to have you do that tonight. However, we're going to not take action tonight on this issue, and we will postpone this until our next meeting so that we can get the proper notices out. Okay? Cameron?
Thanks, Tom. So, yeah, as Tom said, we did the newspaper notifications twice over. We missed the letter that needed to go to all the property owners, and they were all aware of it because it's a condo association, and they all voted on it, but we need to follow the steps, otherwise someone could challenge this and throw it all out, and we have to start all over again. So, my apologies to everyone. We will make this right and get this taken up at the next meeting. But for tonight, we will start with the public hearing, and then we will do it again next meeting in 2 weeks. So what's in front of you tonight is a request from the North Valley Condo Association to repave their roads within the condo association, which are considered private roads. And in Michigan law, you can have a private road basically paid for through a special assessment district, and that's what they've petitioned for. The way that works, they petition the township. The township then pays the contractor for the work, and then the residents in the district will pay back the township over time, in this case, 5 years. It makes it easier for the residents to absorb the cost of big projects like road repaving, especially when they're, they only take place every, might be 20, 30 years before you do a project like that. So it's a benefit to the residents. It's something that the township could do to ease that process. And so that's what we're partnering with them. They've petitioned for this. We have a public hearing tonight, and then address the two resolutions at the next meeting. And then on the September 11th, there would be a final resolution. So there's multiple steps involved. You may recall we had a motion, or I'm sorry, we had a resolution at the last meeting to put forward this public hearing. Then there's steps to create the special assessment district, and then the final step in September is to apportion the special assessment. So that's when you finalize the amount each property owner is paying, in which case, this case is the same for every property owner. So unless there's any other questions, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Anyone here to make comment on this issue? Yes, sir. Just so you know, you have to state your name and address for the record, and then we allow 3 minutes for.
Hi, Ron Wagner. I'm a board member, North Valley. So I wanted to thank the township for considering our request to create the SAD, enabling us to repave our road and parking areas in North Valley. The paving is original from when the development was started in the 80s, so it is some old asphalt. It has been sealed, patched, repaired, is now starting to crumble. We've had several drains collapse and repaired over the years, and this is only going to get worse without further work. We've also had issues with ice patches in wintertime. We've lost our grading in places, and water will set in the wintertime. The SAD will allow us to get the work done and make payment easier for the residents than if we had assessed everyone ahead and then contracted the work to be done after the money was collected. It's the only way an association can do it. With the SAD, payment can be extended if needed, which could not have been done by the association itself. The number of petitions show the overwhelming majority of homeowners agree with this process, 52 out of the 66, and look forward to this improvement to our community. I want to thank the residents and board members that worked on this project, and also Cameron and Sue, one of our neighbors, and help work on this. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, seeing no one else, I will not close the floor. I will seek a motion at this time to adjourn the hearing. Do you have the language? Go ahead, I'll let you go.
I move to adjourn the hearing and further action on resolutions 2 and 3 until the next township board meeting on August 28th, 2023.
Thank you, Kathleen. Support from Frank. Roll call vote, please.
Hey, Mr. Brinkman.
Yes.
Mr. Hagedorn.
Yes.
Mrs. Morrow.
Yes.
Ms. Beatty.
Yes.
Mr. Pfaff.
Yes.
Mrs. Lowenthal, yes, and Mr. Coleman.
Yes. Okay, we are on to item 9 on our agenda, which is our new business. First item is to consider an appeal of a well exception denial for 1310 10 Mile Road.
Okay,
Okay.
I'll start and I'll let Rick weigh in. So we've got 3 to consider tonight, and to avoid some repetition here, I'm gonna speak generically to all 3 of them first, and I'll let Rick do the same. We've had these exception appeals before, and there's a process that you recall. The applicant needs to apply to Rick, who has to send it to both the state and the county. They have to weigh in. Rick is really compelled to pass along whatever result they provide to him. So he doesn't have any discretion on the front end. He has to do whatever comes back to him from the state or the county in terms of accept or deny. Then, if it's a deny and the resident wants to appeal that, they have the option to do that. They can talk to Rick again, appeal to the board, and it comes to you to decide. Rick, do you want to weigh in on these 3 specific ones? We've done a number of these, so you guys kind of get the process, so. Go ahead. Okay. Okay, so we have 3 tonight. All 3 of them have shown tests are free of PFAS. And as we've seen in the past, while we appreciate our friends at Kent County Health Department looking after our public health, the fact that we don't have specific drawings for certain wells or know the grouting condition, it doesn't seem material for irrigation purposes. So we've entertained a number of these in the past that you have accepted you've provided the exception to the well, keeping their well. You've allowed them to keep their well. That's the best way to say it. And that's basically what all 3 of them are tonight. There's either irrigation or geothermal, open loop geothermal situations at all 3 homes. And they've all been clear of PFAS at this point, and that's been a big standard for this board. So I know some of the applicants are here. I don't know if all 3 are here tonight, but I recommend taking them one by one, so if there's any issues, you can address them at that time.
Okay, I will open the floor at this point for the denial for 1310 10 Mile. So if anybody would like to comment on that, the microphone is yours. And don't forget, name and address for the record, and that you have 3 minutes.
My name's Barbie Soper. We live at 1310 10 Mile Road. We've got 3 kids. We love our well. We love our water. It's clean. I'm not sure what the stipulation would be, but we're willing to test it or whatever we need to do for non-potable use. I understand that we cannot keep it for drinking, but for non-potable is kind of all we're asking for. But we love our water for that and our little critters and our kids. So yeah, we're still going to be filtering. We're still going to be doing all that good stuff. So yeah, we'd like to keep it. I guess that's it.
That's
I
it?
appreciate it very
Thank you.
much.
All right.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, so I'll close the floor for 1310 10 Mile, and we'll move on to board discussion if there's any. Frank? Jack?
It appears like there's a policy that's, we can almost establish at this point. No PFAS, non-potable water, annual inspections. I mean, it's pretty cut and dried, I would think. So yeah, as long as Rick is able to keep track of all these things every year, I have no problem.
Just, our consent agreement requires we go through this process. So, okay, all right. Susan?
I too feel that this is, they've met all the criteria. Thank you.
All right, but you're right, Jack, we should be able to do something quicker here, right? Kathleen?
All set.
Kathy?
All set.
Bill? I'm all set. So motion at this time, please.
I move to approve the resolution granting the appeal for private well exception as presented.
Thank you, Kathy. Support?
I'll support that.
Thank you, Bill. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Hagedorn.
Yes.
Ms. Beatty.
Yes.
Mr. Brinkman.
Yes.
Mrs. Morrow.
Yes,
Mr. Pfaff.
Yes.
Mrs. Lowenthal, yes, and Mr. Coleman.
Yes. You're all set, Barbie. Okay. All right, so let's do the same process for 9047 Algoma Avenue. Cameron, you already talked. So move right to public comment. How's that? Anybody here to speak to that? Yes, ma'am. Sir, both of you, however you want to do that.
But he's not going to speak. So I guess that leaves me. My name is Julie Block. I'm here with my husband Eric, and we live at 9047 Algoma. We also appealed the denial of our well. I'm not sure of the proper terminology, but we have almost 4 acres in our yard. We'd like to continue to water with that. Our water, again, is also delicious. We know we can't drink it, and we do have to get the city water, but we're willing to test, and we're willing to, do whatever needs to be done, but we'd rather keep our well also. I guess that's really all, and we appreciate you considering our appeal.
Okay.
So I don't know if you have any questions or.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Let's do it again. Frank?
All set.
Jack?
Yep.
Susan?
all set.
Kathleen? Kathy?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes, I'm set.
So am I. So let's have a motion.
I move to approve the resolution granting the appeal for private well exception as presented.
Thank you, Frank. Support?
Second.
Thank you,
Support.
Kathy. Roll call vote.
Mr. Brinkman.
Yes.
Mrs. Morrow.
Yes,
Ms. Beatty.
Yes.
Mr. Pfaff.
Yes.
Mr. Hagedorn.
Yes.
Mr. Lowenthal, yes. Coleman, yes.
Yes. All right, so now we will do our third rendition of this song. 1736 10 Mile Road. Wait, David, for recording purposes, this isn't Motown, but we're close.
We have a huge following on YouTube.
Name again is David Tuck, and we live at 1736 10 Mile Road. We're looking for a limited use for our geothermal, which both heats and cools the house. So we were rejected initially on drinking and irrigation, and so this is what we're after now.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Here we go again. Frank? And Jack?
Good.
And Susan?
fine.
And Kathleen? And Kathy and Bill?
Good.
Yes.
Me too. Motion, please.
I move to approve the resolution granting the appeal for private well exception as presented.
Support.
Thank you, Kathleen, and Frank was right there for support, so roll call vote.
Hey, Mrs. Morrow.
Yes,
Mr. Brinkman.
Yes.
Mr. Hagedorn.
Yes.
Mr. Pfaff.
Yes.
Ms. Beatty.
Yes.
Mr. Coleman.
Yes.
And Ms. Lowenthal, yes.
Okay, item D is the Premier Park Soccer Field improvements, and I'm assuming that's why we have the honor of having Mr. Fisher here this evening.
I just wanted to see you folks, but I will address this if you want. A couple weeks ago, or about a month ago, Cameron and I met with representatives from SCORE. They're a primary user group of the soccer fields up at Premier Park, and they are interested and approached us and said, hey, we would like to convert at our expense, their expense, completely, changing our grass fields into synthetic turf or artificial turf. And you heard Mr. Gusweiler talk about they're doing that with some of their ball fields as well. In addition to that, they like to put up lighting and tall fencing. They really want to turn this into a premier soccer field, no pun intended. But this is a very busy group that does a lot of traveling. They have a lot of support and kids. But before they do that and go throughout this, they need to do a fundraising campaign, just like West Michigan Sports Commission does. And so Cameron and I, we're supportive of it in concept. All they're looking for right now is just, is there any objection, or we're looking for an affirmation of objection or support for them to go raise money. Even if they raise the money, let's say it's $1 million, whatever it is, $750,000, whatever the cost is, the whole proposal would still have to come back to the board in a total package with a user agreement. We have user agreements with West Michigan Mountain Biking Alliance for Merrill Trail. Same thing, raw piece of land, they came in, they developed it, they maintain it, et cetera. Same concept with Rock City BMX. It's our property. They've invested in this and whatnot. And as part of that agreement too, it's the priority of the field use. They understand, we're quite clear to them, this is a public park. These are public soccer fields. So where they might have some preferential opportunities there, you know, if we're having leagues and their games and one out there, we'd still fit others in if they wanted to. Of course, pass is, you know, they have a limited use up there. They're mostly south enders. It's a long ways for their families to come all the way up here to the north end, especially picture coming from like Forest Hills area, Northview area, up East Beltline, up to 10 Mile, et cetera. So it's not their home turf, if you will, but it is for SCORE. So that's why they're really interested in all this. So in our minds, staff, you know, there's all these hurdles that they're going to have to go through, which still come back to you for approval. As we look at it from our side, it does eliminate all the issues we have. We have constant irrigation issues with the whole system there, heads going. That happens everywhere. It happens here at Township Hall. It's manageable, but it's out there. It does cost to irrigate. That all would go away. So this would include ripping out the entire irrigation system, et cetera, as part of their expense, if you will. But keep in mind too, these fields only last, from my understanding, again, we haven't done a ton of research, you know, 10 to 15 years. We would expect, and this would be built into the agreement, how's that going to be paid for? By them, by this club, et cetera. There's ongoing maintenance, which is very manageable, monthly maintenance. But it also creates a field surface that can be played on longer. It's consistent. It's really only not playable when there's snow on it. So it extends the life of it. It also brings opportunity for other groups like lacrosse, if they want it, to come out here, different sports, if you will. So there are some positives for us as well, and to get lighting out there and blending in with Rock City, et cetera, it's just, it's not a bad thing, I think, for us to be open-minded about. So that said, in a nutshell, we're just basically looking for, are there any big objections from the board if we say, go ahead and fundraise? And again, they're well aware they'd have a lot to come back with a user agreement.
And I would note too, SCORE would be here tonight to speak, but they're actually having a fundraiser tonight, so they couldn't be here, so. Not for this, just a general fundraiser, but.
Yeah, my apologies.
They're not getting ahead of themselves here, but.
Okay, so I guess we all get to give Mr. Fisher our thoughts. Kathleen, you want to go first this time?
Sure. After being a travel soccer mom for many years, I know this is how important this is to these club teams that do this. I think it's a great idea. If they can raise the money and enhance it, I'd support that.
Okay, Kathy?
I have no problem with that. Love sports, love kids, let's go.
Perfect. Bill?
Sounds good to me.
Okay. Susan?
Well, the traffic concerns seem to be mitigated by the commitment with Progressive, so I think it'll be just fine.
Jack?
As long as the township is protected, I'm fine.
Yep. Frank?
I don't see any reason to object to it at this point.
Unanimous support, Mr. Fisher. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, next item is to consider an application for a state grant for improvements at the senior/community center.
Okay.
This is you again.
This is me again. Don't act so surprised. Okay, so you're aware this state has a lot of money. They're throwing in a lot of different programs right now. Some of it's from federal money that's come down and they've got to spend it. So one of them they've decided to do is to provide local support for community centers, or in this case, a senior center. So I've taken a look at that and talked to our friends at Fishback about what this might look like. We can apply for up to 2.5 million. However, there is some expectation that there be a local match, and so that's where the rub comes in, right? How much do we want to spend of our own funds to match to get some grant funds? You may recall when we last looked at this, which has probably been over a year now, Fishback came up with a menu of options that we could work on, anywhere up to $800,000. We didn't have to do it all, but all of it were items that could be addressed. We decided not to do it at that time, but with these additional funds available, I think this might be a good chance to relook at that list, and I've asked Fishbeck actually to look and dig deeper a little bit. Is there something else that we need to be looking at? Is there, especially in terms of functionality of the facility, we've always had space concerns. How can we address that in a practical way? I mean, you know, you start messing with the structure, you get expensive real fast. So they're gonna dig into that. I don't have all the answers of how that might look tonight, but I will in a couple weeks, because we've gotta get this application in by the end of the month. So what I'm looking for is a commitment from the board that you do wanna apply for this grant, and if so, you're willing to say, we'll budget money as a match in next year's budget. We would know the outcome of this before we finalize our budget. We will hear on this grant by the end of October. We don't finalize our budget till November, so if we don't get it, we can make a last-minute switch and pull that money back and put it towards something else. So it's a commitment only to the point where we get the grant, and that's what I'm asking for so we can move forward with this application. And I'm here for whatever questions you have.
Hang on a second, because I'll open the floor if there's anybody that wants to make a comment about this issue. Okay, seeing no one, I will close that, and we'll move on to board discussion. Okay. You're a little late, but I'll let it go, Christine.
Hoping somebody else would come up here.
Hope is not a good plan, someone told me once. I think it was Kyle. It was when you're hoping Steve would finish yesterday, right? 5th place. Okay, I'm taking your time. Go, Christine.
Christine Freet, 4267 4 Mile Road, resident of the township, also the director of Northview Seniors. So I'm very excited about this opportunity for a grant. Thankful that you're considering this, whatever way it goes. But really, I think part of the strength of perhaps getting the grant is the strength of the program and the needs of the program. So just to tell you, we're continuing to grow. Our membership as of today is 1,332, highest yet. It's only August. So we'll have more growth before the end of the year. And we have done a lot with 3 rooms and a storage closet. And they would greatly be appreciated and greatly used by many people. Thank you.
Thanks, Christine. Anyone else? Okay, now I'll really close the floor for that. We'll move on to board discussion. Kathy, you were starting before, go ahead.
Yeah, as I understand it, we may not get the entire amount, but whatever amount we get, we are only committing to 20% of that amount that we would be granted, correct?
Yeah, thank you for that clarification. And my intent is to say we're willing to commit a 20% match. And we've already learned through a lot of these processes, often you can ask questions before you apply. And we asked, so is there, is it all or nothing that we're either going to get what we ask for or not? And they said, not necessarily. You might get a partial funding. And in that case, we don't want to say we're willing to put up $500,000 and they say, great, here's another $100,000 to boot. So we're saying a 20% match is how we're positioning it. So.
All set, Kathy? All set, okay. Yes. Bill, anything?
Well, I'm naturally for this, but that's money that we can get. And I know other units of government are getting that now. So we might as well work with it, and it is needed.
Okay, thank you. Kathleen?
Gotta do something.
There you go.
Gotta change, gotta get better.
Thanks. Frank?
Yeah, I'm all for it.
Thank you. Jack?
Well, we have a healthy fund balance, that's good. Are there any restrictions on what you can use this money for in terms of just building and grounds, or can you use it for other things like programs or things?
It has to be a capital purchase, so not programming. They did have a separate, and that window I wasn't aware of until it already closed. They had some programming dollars earlier this year, and this is a capital round. So it has to be capital, but as far as capital goes, it's pretty expansive. You might even be a community that doesn't have any sort of community center and say, we need money for a consultant to start planning one. It can even go for that. So obviously, we're well past that stage. So we'd be looking for renovating the current facility and or probably expanding it, not relocating it like we looked before, that this isn't, we're just not in that realm, but if we can add a little space or make it a little bit more usable, that's the kind of thing that we can look at.
I would like to, and one of the reasons I asked is, this is a lot of money, and it would be great if we could buy a parcel next to us and convert it to a parking lot, because one of the problems with expanding our center was parking. So it might be a possibility.
One challenge we'll run into there, because this does come from federal dollars, just like our ARPA funds, there is a quick clock on it. And so anything that takes a long time is gonna be tricky. But those are definitely things that we can look at. How can we expand parking? How can we expand the facility? How can we meet all those needs that we've been studying for, 6, 7 years now? So.
Okay, thanks, Jack. Susan?
You say there's a quick turnaround. I have a note here that was the publication. The applications are due by 5 o'clock on August 31st, and the awarding will be?
By the end of October is their planned announcement.
Okay. I, of course, support applying for the grant, and I also feel absolutely very, very comfortable with the fact that we have a director who can answer all sorts of questions about the program and the needs of the program, so that as we work with Fishback, we make sure that they're talking to the people who are running the program and know what will help the seniors and would be very valuable to the program. And if I said the word storage once, I'll say it again and again and again. But that would be my concern, that we have interaction between Fishback and the program.
Absolutely. That's the intent. If the board decides to go forward, pull in Christine to talk about how we can promote the programming, because that is a big selling point. You know, the fact that we have a well-established program and all that membership really goes a long way to say, look, this is a real need in our community.
Thank you.
Kathy, do you have something further?
I just wanted to change the motion, so could I just go ahead and make the motion?
Sure.
Okay. I move to approve applying for a grant to improve the senior/community center and agree to budget 20% of that grant.
Support.
Okay. Get that, Kathleen? Okay. Roll call vote, please.
Okay, Mr. Brinkman.
Yes.
Mrs. Merrill.
Yes.
Mr. Hagedorn.
Yes.
Ms. Beatty.
Yes.
Mr. Pfaff.
Yes.
Mr. Coleman.
Yes.
Mr. Lowenthal, yes.
Okay. We covered all of our items, so it's time for you to give us the rundown here,
All
Kevin.
right. Well, you know, I'm sure you all participated in the triathlon this weekend, right?
How did Steve do? That's what I'd like to know.
Only one triathlete in the
Only
room.
one. Yay. Congratulations.
He likes to show us up every year, so congratulations to our fire chief. We had great weather, right, for triathlon, for Mill Creek Days.
Yep.
Not the big rain out that we had last year, so lots of activity. When we had the LPGA tour, I like to talk about these big events that kind of bookend our summer here in Plainfield, and so that must mean we're almost done with summer. Yeah, I know. We're getting to that point. Back to school shopping is right around the corner. So 2 great events this past weekend, and change of season is upon us. And as we change the season, we also have a lot of projects that are wrapping up. Our construction season has gone really well this year. As far as I'm aware, things have gone very smoothly for our water main work. The biggest hiccup we had was on Pine Island, where we ran into some bad soil.
At the end of the
Yeah,
whole thing.
yeah, we ran into some almost like quicksand kind of soil that we had to work around, but fortunately we had a team that could work quickly through that. Brian Newhoff has updates on projects for a lot of their clients, and you'll notice as I scroll through the list, you get down here alphabetically to Plainfield, and we're about the last half of their updates. Won't be that way next year with a reduction in our water projects, but one I want to point out, making some great progress, is our 2 pathway projects. So Jericho and Airway, they've got some updates from last Friday. You can see that we already have some pavement down. This is the airway project. So as you look down the road, you know, obviously they've got final restoration to go. In fact, it looks like at this point they need to put another course on. But there is Northview High School. You don't see the school because it's behind this house, but leads right to it. So this has been a key project, and one that I've heard numerous requests for in the last 10 years is a way for kids to get to school, for residents in the area. Occasionally we see sports teams. I saw them out this week practicing. They're already using the Jupiter Trail, so they're not running in the roadway, which they used to do. And now with the stairs, they can access airway and get to the school more quickly. So this is a great addition, something that's been requested for many, many years, and good to see this finally coming into fruition. And it looks like it's already being used. So glad to see we're getting some progress there. Final comment, our next meeting will be our first budget workshop, August 28. We will have some other business items. Obviously, we've got to finish this public hearing. And I anticipate there'll be a couple other items that the board will have to consider. But then we'll go into our first budget workshop and take a look at the general fund operating type of expenses, which tends to be more employee-centric. We look at our fire department. We look at the various general funded departments. And so we'll go through that. Mr. Smith will join us for that presentation. And then we will follow up with, in September, we'll hold the public hearing for the budget. It's kind of an odd process. We hold the public hearing before we've held the second one, but that's to meet the state requirements on timeline. We'll go through that process. We'll set the millage, and then in October, we'll hold our second one, which is capital improvement and the enterprise fund, so water, sewer, et cetera. So that's our process. It's worked well the last couple of years, so we're going to continue with that. That's all I have. Oh, go ahead, John.
Will capital improvement be a separate fund at that point?
Yeah, so that's the intent this year. Warren's working on separating that out. You recognize that in the past, even though it's still a part of the general fund, it's always tucked into each department, and that kind of leads to a lot of confusion on how we present the numbers. One department can look like they only spent half their money if they had to wait on a capital improvement project. So it can really throw off that number as you're watching it through the year. By separating it out into a separate fund, just like we do with our trails fund or sidewalk fund, now we have a separate pot of money that really is gonna make following the money a lot easier, I think, for myself and probably for you and hopefully for the public as well. And also a lot easier to plan. You know, as we look at this, we know it's in this pot, and when a project doesn't happen one year, has to bridge multiple years, we're not messing with the general fund from one year to the next. So thanks for bringing that up. I think that's a key point that we're gonna talk through next meeting.
Okay, board member comments at this time. Frank?
I'm all set, thanks.
Okay, Jack?
I went to the Historical Society open house, which they had probably maybe 3 weeks ago now. Very good. They seem to get themselves organized and look forward to seeing them more organized. As I mentioned to Cameron, you guys will have a sigh of relief. I'm not going to be at the next board meeting.
We'll miss you. You have fun where you're going.
I'm sure you will.
All right, Susan?
It was my pleasure to be part of Mill Creek Days these past last Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. What a difference that effort has finally materialized. On Thursday, it was a little quiet, but the Rockford Rotary, the Comstock Park Rotary barbecue, chicken barbecue, kicked everything off. They had bands going every night, beer tent behind Mill Creek Tavern. Friday was a community day, and the events were managed by the school system. And then came Saturday, where we had a kickoff of a 5K run at 8 o'clock in the morning. And the crafters started, 30 people with craft booths started arriving at 8:30. There was a bicycle giveaway out at the ballpark that preceded the parade, with our fire department leading the way. And It was a lot of celebration, and big, huge thanks to the DDA for underwriting it, and also to Rich Fry for his leadership in, I don't think I've ever belonged on any committee that met as frequently as this one did, but it was really worth it, well organized, and things really came together. I did think that it was quite interesting that our water department decided to be part of Mill Creek Days too. Yeah, I got a little note on my cell phone. Major water main break, 4 Mile and West River Drive. Oh, right. And it was, I don't know what time of the day it was, but the place was hopping, and our water department was right there. And fortunately, the water main break was a little bit beyond the intersection, so it didn't cause any traffic jams. But that was a little bit of a scare for me. I'm so glad that Rick is here tonight, and Bill, because I have to tell you what a pleasure it is to drive down Jupiter and see the work that your guys have put in on cleaning up the wall. I thought that the plants coming down the wall were attractive until they were all cleaned up, and it's beautiful. The quality of the workmanship of building that and then now maintaining it, and they've not just cleaned up the wall, but they've cut about 2 feet beyond back along the edge, so it's not going to encroach again real fast. And the wall on Airway is going to be just gorgeous. Really, I know that the engineers do it, but we look at it and say, this is what we want. And then we've made some good choices. And thank you very much for whatever you're doing to keep it really looking awesome. And I also wanted to mention that Kyle was at the Mill Creek Days. He was up in the air with the drone, having a ball. And I said, do you have any pictures that I could look at? And he said, I have 70, what did you say? Absolutely, and he's going to give them all to CJ to look through. But that drone, everybody was talking about it being up in the air. They knew that that was Plainfield's drone that was up in the air. That was very, very cool. And I believe that is the end. Thank you.
All right. Kathleen?
I want to say, Rick, thanks to your guys at the water department for doing a great job. I know it was a long day for them, but quick work and amazing job they always do.
Kathy?
I just want Steve to know, Fire Chief, that he's not alone in doing these great challenges. On this Saturday, I'm going to walk a 5K for Mitchell's Run.
All right.
All right, thank you. Bill?
I guess I really can't hide what's happening to me with my ears. And it's cancer, and I'm fighting a major battle. If I lose this battle, it'll be all over with real quick. But I'm trying to keep it out of my brain now. And we're working at it, and we're making the progress, but, you know, just bear with me. It won't be too long before we have this resolved. So the question is, I was going to dip for you down there, was it tomorrow? I'm sorry? A week from tomorrow. And, well, with the progress that the new medicine they gave me, it makes me feel lots better, so maybe that'll do it. And it's just something to keep going, but I've had this cancer for a long time, so. And it came from our friends at Fort Irwin and the atomic testing at Yucca Flats, Nevada, which was, unfortunately got to me, and I've seen the flashes, and I've gone through the melanoma stage and all of this, and it's there, but we're working at it, so. Sorry to have to, put it to you this way, but that's my plight right now.
Oh, we'll keep you in our prayers, Bill.
Yeah. Best wishes, thoughts, and prayers.
Thank you.
Okay. Keep us posted.
I will.
Okay. Pretty hard to follow that. Susan, everybody kind of covered things. If you don't know Rich Fry, that Mill Creek Days thing is all Rich. He's so dedicated to it, and does a great job. And I was there Saturday morning, brought the rain again. That's my annual job. So everybody got a little wet. But last but not least, and I know Cameron shared this in the internal weekly thing, but I received a email from a resident who must have touched every facet of our township and employees in it. But she wrote a very nice email, which I want to make sure that everybody passes on kudos to just everyone. She mentions everybody, from the fire department to the front desk to the assessor's office to, I mean, building and grounds guys, I mean, everybody she covers. So we don't get that very often. An old boss once told me there's never any pats on the back, there's just kicks in the can. So here's a pat on the back for everybody. I just wanted to share. So other than that, we're good, right? All right, we're adjourned.